This is Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. People Magazine, September 16, 2013. Exclusive interview. Katie finds love again. 15 years after losing her husband, having raised her girls on her own, Katie Couric finally gets a fairy tale ending with new fiancé John Molnar. Over the years, Katie Couric has proven pretty adept in sniffing out breaking news stories. So how could she miss a life-changing event staring her in the face? Last weekend, on a beach in East Hampton, New York, as her boyfriend of more than a year, finance executive John Molnar, opened a bottle of rosé and began telling her how committed and in love he was. Couric remained unfazed. I was like, yeah, I know that. You didn't have to bring me here to tell me that, she says with a laugh. Finally, Molnar cut to the chase. Couric, I'm trying to propose to you, he said, getting down on one knee in the sand. I was stunned, she says. I had no clue. I took a long time for my brain to process what was going on. Her groom-to-be, at last, is thrilled to have caught her off guard. I was very old-fashioned in how I went about the proposal, Molnar, 50, explains. And it was a surprise to her. I was excited to catch her at a moment of confusion, which is pretty rare. But Molnar has been sure of his intentions for quite some time. Meeting Katie really changed my life, he says. I loved getting to know her and her daughters, and I couldn't be happier. When she said yes, I was just elated. It was a great culmination of one of the best periods of my life. Couric, 56, gobsmacked when she looked at her hand, continues to swoon days later. I'm a little overwhelmed. I have to take a moment, she says at one point, clearing her throat. It's an incredibly special time. For Couric, the engagement is significant, and not simply for a heartfelt display of emotion. 15 years after losing her 42-year-old husband, Jay Monahan, to colon cancer, Couric admits that preparing for another wedding is bittersweet. I had such a happy marriage. I love my husband so much, Couric says of Monahan. It's nice to finally meet somebody who has so many values that he had. There have been a real comfort. I made sure to call Jay's siblings, and he was one of the 7 kids, and they were all happy for me. That made me even happier that they were all so thrilled. It sort of feels like it gives me permission to feel the way I do now. Having raised daughters, Carrie, 17, Ellie, 22, on her own, Couric is now excited for the next chapter of her life. The fact that we've been the 3 Musketeers for nearly 16 years means that change, even a positive one, can be challenging, she acknowledges. But I think overwhelming feeling of joy. If joy she's waited for a while. In the years since Monahan's death, Couric made no secret that she was always wanted to marry again. In a way, I'm surprised it took 15 years, but things happen when they're supposed to, she says. After Jay died, I always said in my heart side of the bed and filled it with books and magazines and newspapers. There was like a symbolic placeholder for me. It's nice to have a loving partner there instead. And now that he's completely committed, come hell or high water. Certainly Couric has seen both. Poised to launch a second season of her syndicated daytime talk show Katie on September 9th, her career and her girls have been the focus of the past 2 decades. After leaving the Today Show in 2006, she became the first solo female anchor of CBS Evening News, a job that she left in 2011. Along the way, tragedy struck again. Her sister Emily died from pancreatic cancer at age 54 in 2001, and in 2011, her 90-year-old father, John, died after a long battle with Parkinson. It made you realize that everyone is terminal, Couric says, and you have to make the most of the time you have. For Couric, that includes making her intentions clear. I made this a priority, she says, in finding a mate. I had a series of relationships in the past, but they didn't seem right for the long haul, and it took me a while to get here. But I knew this is where I wanted to be. I would let my friends know I wanted to meet someone. When they didn't deliver, I asked them again and again. Finally, a friend told me she had this guy she wanted me to meet named John Molnar, and every time I saw her at spin class, I'd say, Molly, what happened to this Molnar guy? Finally, the Molnar guy, head of mergers and acquisitions, an investment firm, Brown Brothers Harriman, materialized. To tell him I fell for Katie as soon as I met her. Couric was simply smitten, if also pragmatic. I knew he was a keeper when he agreed to go to the grocery store with my mom and me, and he helped her find a generic prescription of pain reliever for less money. Mom's a bargain shopper, and John rose to the occasion. I thought, wow, this guy's pretty great. Of course, every relationship has its challenges. Molnar has 2 kids from his previous marriage, one in college and one still in high school in New York. Couric has Carrie at home for 1 more year. Daughter Ellie lives in California. John's kids are great, and he's a very devoted father to them, Couric says. He's also very respectful of my bond with my girls. I've done stuff with his kids. He's very close to mine. We'll let things fall into place naturally. It's not exactly a Brady Bunch situation because our kids are at a different point in their lives. A wedding will likely wait until Carrie leaves for college. I want to get her off into the world and enjoy her last year at home, Couric says. Molnar, for this part, is happy to go with the flow. There are family logistics to consider, he says, but I'm ready to go whenever called. When she reported back to the set of Katie later this week, she's sporting a new ring and likely serving as an inspiration to the more than few women who might have thought 56 was too late for happy ever after. Some of my friends have said she gives them hope, Couric acknowledged. I'd like to think it does, but I hope it also shows people that it's never too late not to put yourself out there. My parents were married for 67 years. I know this is worth it. This has been Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.